How do we exercise our spirit? Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas, and welcome to my channel. Channel's all about education, edumacation, and I do mostly things that are off the beaten path, but core subjects like math and physics and chemistry and astronomy and history and nutrition, but in ways that are things that you probably haven't heard about. So kind of different alternative, further than alternative ways of doing these different subjects that you probably were bored to death with when you took them in school. And I bring a lot of, excitement and interest to these subjects by presenting them in a manner that is more realistic, more accessible, and more wide-ranging and more practical. So stay tuned for all those things as we go along and cover different subjects. To start with, we've been covering this thing here called Tree of Life. And Tree of Life is more than just a teaching. It's really like the common denominator of all the teachings. So this is really your foundation, and it's a foundation that you use in order to organize all the other teachings that you end up getting and that you have amassed throughout your life. What it is one commentator that I follow calls it an ancient computer, and it is ancient. It goes back at least as far as ancient Egypt, and probably further, and it doesn't look like a computer, but for the ancients, it's basically something that you download into your body, and then it begins to work like a mechanism inside your body because it's an organizing system. So it's really like an elaborate mnemonic device. And what happened with me is I basically, once I got to the point where I memorized it, I understood what all the different components meant, and then and the relationships between them in geometry. It just downloaded into my mind, and it organized all the stuff that I had in my head already. All the stuff that I had learned over the years was a jumbled mess until I downloaded the Tree of Life, and now it's organized. And now things are easy to recall, easy to understand, easy to group together and to prioritize, because it's a hierarchical system. So some things are more important than other things, and you can prioritize your life based on that. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction of how the tree works, and then maybe a little bit more advanced of an application of how just an illustration of how to use it. Okay, now the tree has 12 different faculties, 12 different aspects, which I map out as our faculties of consciousness. Okay, and then those words are loaded words, and I'm not sure which better words to use. Instead of using faculties, you could use abilities or capabilities or facets. And for consciousness, you could use ways of understanding the world or awareness of reality. But I think consciousness works the best because it's a general term that it can be applied to things that go beyond thinking. So anyway, the 12 different faculties are the 10 numbers. So we have 10 different circles here that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then there is an abyss, which is an applied sphere here, and then there's a 0 that's above the tree, for a total of 12 different factors. Now you should be able to take the tree and apply it to anything. The tree can be applied to anything. You can take this coffee cup and put the tree on it, and the tree should be able to break it down into its different faculties. It probably works better on, living, breathing things, but you should be able to apply it to anything. Now, the 10th sphere here is this is our animal consciousness, our wild animal consciousness, the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, kill or be killed. And this is also the state of our body, our bodily urges. And so this is the 10th sphere, and this is what we have to work with when we're born. This is how we roll at the start, and then the rest of the spheres are things that we open up as we approach life. And so the 9th sphere, it gets its start in the first years of our life, up until age 5, but probably more longer than that, but exclusively like up until age 5, where we're in the home, the domestic situation, and we're growing up, and whoever our caregivers are, our parents, we are very, very receptive to them. We are basically soaking up everything from them like a sponge, where we're watching all their activities, watching what they're doing, trying to understand it, and then also trying to copy it by memorizing their actions and then practicing their actions with our own little hands and feet or whatever. So this is the first 5 years of our life, and this is where we're learning. Our learning is at its peak because our receptivity is so high, and we copy and imitate through our memory. The A sphere is somewhat similar, but the A sphere is when we get out into the public world. So this is when we start school, or we go to church, or go to the the youth groups, or just out on the playground or whatever. Then we are picking up pieces of the consensus worldview. This is really how the world thinks about things. This is normally coming from the institutions, from the establishment, from the expert opinion. This comes from the teachers and the preachers and the newspapers and the people on television, and they're telling us what we're supposed to believe, how things are, and how we're supposed to behave about it. And so then we can learn to just imitate that. We can again use the same approach, soak it up like a sponge, just have them tell us what we're supposed to do, and then we just do it. And lo and behold, if we just do what they tell us to do, we find a path of success. We get into this area here where the establishment exists. We get the highest grades on the tests. We get the better jobs and so on, because we have learned how to follow directions, and we've learned to do what we're told. And so it's the path of least resistance into the area here in the A sphere, which is where all the resources are, all the institutions are, all the power and all the status is. So, but unfortunate part about the A sphere is that it is a trickster. Okay, it is an illusion. Some of it is true, some of it is half true, some of it is not at all true. And we can, but we learn to believe in what is presented here, and we learn to rationalize it. So these are the faculties of the A sphere: rational faculty, or logic and reasoning, but only on a superficial level. Not getting into the the deeper levels of things, not into the form and the function, but into the surface characteristics. And but it's an illusion. So we we have to rationalize our existence here. We have to come up with excuses for why this is so great. Because if we actually experience our life, we will find that it's not in consonance with what they tell us that we're supposed to believe. And so we have to kind of shun all of this other information to the side because it doesn't fit in with the narratives that are being presented here at the Asphere. And so once the amount of things that we shun to the side becomes too overwhelming for us, we end up kind of moving over to the seventh sphere, where the eighth sphere is about the real world. The seventh sphere is about the imaginary world. So this is what we get when we're like, okay, this is not satisfactory anymore. We come in over here and we try to imagine a world that works better. Imagine things that work better than whatever particular things that we have objections to over here. And so imagination is one of the faculties here, along with inspiration and intuition, and also creativity, the spark of creativity, and then also our pleasure principle. And so these are things that we utilize in order to kind of come up with a better way of doing things than what's being done over here. So we can present our alternative through creative endeavors such as pieces of artwork or songs or poems or prose or stories or movies that we develop, or however we want to do it. Also inventions that maybe solve some of the problems that appear over here in the eighth sphere. So the seventh sphere is a way that we kind of get out of the eighth sphere and we try to do something that's an alternative to it. The problem is that the eighth sphere has all the resources, and so what ends up happening is that they pretty much just starve you out. You know, you come up with something and they just ignore you. And if it is something that's powerful, then they eventually approach you and they give you $1 million for your idea, and then they take the great thing that you came up with and they turn it into an advertising jingle for them. So you have to also create the thing that you find to create the alternative, but then you also have to be strong enough to resist the eighth sphere and kind of develop the network for your creative endeavor by climbing further up the tree. And so that's where we get, the seventh sphere is our inspiration. The inspiration is the 1%, and the perspiration is the 99%. So the 99% is how you develop it as you move up the tree. So when we get to the sixth sphere, what we're talking about is our free will faculty. So our free will faculty boils down to our ability to pay attention and our ability to make decisions. We're paying attention to what is happening right now. Now, unfortunately, and this is the center of the tree. So we are really located here. Like if this was a map, it would say you are here. And unfortunately, we pay attention in a direction. Okay, so we point our attention at things, and we normally have our attention pointed at the 8th, 9th, and 10th spheres, because that's our comfort zone. That's what we grew up with. That's what we're accustomed to. These are the ways that we understand the world, like throughout the way that we've grown up. And so it's very easy to just point our attention at this area. But the second aspect of free will is our ability to make decisions. And so what we do here is we make a new decision to flip around our attention and point our attention at the higher aspects, our spiritual aspects that are mostly undeveloped up here. These are developed. These are areas that we already kind of have fleshed out and we're familiar with. But when we start pointing our attention up here, we are in mostly uncharted territory. So it's very scary. And so that's why we need to be able to overcome the fear of I can't do it because I'm scared. At this point, at the sixth sphere, we do it in spite of the fact that we're scared. Um, we don't necessarily do it well at this point, but we just at least give it a try. And then what we do is we focus, in order to become more familiar with this area of the tree, is we focus our attention to start with on the fifth sphere. The fifth sphere right here is our sense of justice. This is our faculty, you know, of our sense of justice. That's otherwise known as karma, the enforcement of justice, the enforcement of the natural law. So karma, you know, is as you sow, so shall you reap. And for every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. And what comes around goes around. You know, boomerang. So what happens, and karma is calibrated based on violence and waste and violation. So when we violate people, or when we commit violence, or when we have wasteful actions, we commit that act, and it comes back to us. We can just think that there's a mirror right here, and it reflects right back to us. You know, karma in, karma out. And so we get that karma that comes back to us, and it's feedback. We gradually can recognize that, hey, you know, my actions are so violent that I'm getting all these violent actions in return. If I eliminated the violence that I was committing, then that wouldn't happen anymore. So, you know, karma can become our teacher. It can tell us what the flaws are in our actions, and we can gradually become more and more nonviolent and more non-wasteful in our behavior by paying attention to our karma. So that is, you know, how we gradually, or an example of how we gradually tune in. Okay, so then the fourth sphere is kind of the counterpart to the fifth sphere, in that it is the articulation of the natural law, the enforcement of the natural law, the articulation of the natural law. And this is in cosmologies, holy books, you know, theories of everything that have been put together over the years by people who have been paying attention, by using their investigative properties, their observation, their experience, and their experimentation to kind of try to figure out how the world works, how it fits together, what is our part in it, who is God, where does it all come from, and all of these questions that are, you know, eternal questions that we have. Doesn't mean that we get them all right, but it means that we're approaching this, and that we have a source of it, and that you know, the truth will come out eventually. Anomalies will show up, and these things have to be adjusted, but there are resources that we can use, at least in order to have a framework for the natural law, how things are actually working. Okay, then we move up to the abyss here. This is our psychic powers, our ability to tune into and recognize omens, and then be able to act upon them. Omens are synchronicities or coincidences or deja vus, or just, you know, acts that defy the law of statistics, that are pointers for us, or charged objects for us, that we should be, you know, aware of, and that we should act upon. Okay. Then we have 3, 2, and 1 above the tree, which are our divine faculties. Omnipotence, all powerful. Omniscience, all knowing or wisdom, the ability to solve problems. And all omnipresent, all present, all at once, eternally. And this is a unifying factor. This unifies us all together because we have the same spark, the divine, within us at our deepest core. And it's the same as what everybody else has at their deepest core. And then the zero sphere above the tree corresponds to the mystery of the universe. Well, we don't know. There's also always parts that we don't know. And this is because while the zero is part of the creator, it is not part of the universe. So it's part of the creator that is not in the universe. So we have no access to it, but only indirect access. Okay, so that is kind of like an introduction to the tree of life and how it works. Now, again, what I did for my teaching model of the tree is I took the whole tree and I shrunk it down and I applied it to each one of the spheres. So I broke down each one of the spheres to its 12 component parts. So 12 parts of the 10th sphere, 12 parts of the 9th sphere, 12 parts of the 8th sphere, and so on, for a total of 144 little separate parts. And those parts I call the stages of life, or, the stages are not chronological stages, but they're dramatic stages. And I've compiled those into a list, really an abstract of each one of those. And I'd be happy to share that with you if you want to click the link in the description. I'll send that out to you for free by just clicking the link, and you can peruse it and figure out, it'll give you the big picture. Because when I do these videos, I do them on one of the 144. So I'm rolling out 144 separate videos. And so sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to see the big picture of that 144 fractal faculties, because it's just one at a time. So if you click the link in the description, you'll get the whole list at once. And so you'll be able to follow along at home a lot more easily. Okay, now today we're looking at, out of those 144 stages, we're looking at stage number 53. And it is, how do we exercise our spirits? And this 53 is all things about the sixth sphere. It's the sixth sphere. This is our free will faculty, our ability to pay attention, and our ability to make decisions. And within the sixth sphere, we're talking about the sixth fractal of the sixth sphere, or the sixth aspect of the sixth sphere. So this is really like the essence of the sixth sphere. It's called daily inner size. Stage number 53 is about the necessity for an aspirant to maintain a daily practice of meditation. Everyday meditation practices, or inner size. The digestion portion of bioenergy, which can be used to better understand yourself, to better understand others, and to better understand reality. Or should we say inner stand? Our mistakes are revealed unto us through meditation. See the contradictions in our current actions and our beliefs. Cultivate empathy through inner size. Sitting still, doing nothing. You really think you can't meditate, because to really meditate, you can't think. Paying attention, that's all we're doing. Don't forget, stay awake, stay aware, sit still, slower and deeper breathing until a legitimate meditative state. Access concentration. The point is to find the neutral center between the realms, between the material sector and the cosmic sector, between the realm of time and between the realm of space, where nothing is going on. Investigate the qualities of now. Get in touch with reality and stay to the right side of the brain. Two kinds of inner size: concentration on one thing and insight into all things. The latter for wisdom. The former is for our stuff, our psychological complexes. Some people do not attempt to quiet the mind, but attempt to listen and pay attention to what the mind is saying. Once those voices have their say and know they were heard, then they have nothing more to say. Interact purposely with the realm of 3D time. Exercise is in space. Innercise is in time. During a meditation, we introspect, look inward into counter space. So let's inert ourselves and meditate. Okay, that is number 53. How do we exercise our spirit's daily inner size or everyday meditation practices? And that is the sixth fractal of the sixth sphere. And you can see the sixth sphere is about transformation, about our free will faculty and turning things around by switching our attention, moving our attention into this inner zone instead of the outer area, the surface characteristics that we tend to have our attention on. Also, the sixth sphere, here at the bottom of the sixth sphere, is the emphasis on physical exercise. But then here at the middle of the sixth sphere, the focus is on inner size, or exercise, but inner exercise. And when we have, our bodies have a tendency to stay still, and so we have to go against that tendency and move our bodies. But our minds have a tendency to run away and to run off, into a stream, into consciousness streams. And so we have to reverse that by keeping our minds still. So, the sixth sphere is all about, kind of like putting an end or putting a stop to all of those what seem to be automatic processes that are going on at the seventh, but especially the eighth and ninth and 10th spheres. And so, inner size or meditation is a process of kind of trying to reverse those habits of just letting our minds run. Okay, so thank you for staying to the end of the video. Stay tuned for future videos in this series of the 144 Fractal Faculties. If you'd like a scorecard to keep track at home, just click the link in the description and I'll send one out to you for free. And please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I have my Venmo and Cash App in there if you feel so generous that you'd like to donate to further research. And stay tuned for tomorrow's video coming up within 24 hours or 28 hours. And we'll see you then. And in the meantime, have a beautiful day.